over. You join me inside the cabin of the all-new Ferrari F8 Tributo Spider. This is going to be a very special review for me for three reasons. One, I don't find myself behind the wheel of Ferraris all that often. I think the last one was 2018. Two, these particular cars, there are three of them from Ferrari, have come straight from Italy, like all Ferraris are made, but these are Euro spec cars. They have not yet been approved for the US production, and they are the only ones in the country. So it's really cool that I get to drive one of them. And the third reason is more long-winded, and I'll get to it deeper into the review, but Ferraris are very much the reason I got into what I'm doing now. The reason I love cars. A friend growing up, his dad had two older Ferraris, and they just captured my imagination. But this particular car, the F8 Tributo Spider, it is the successor to the 488 Spider. It's lighter, it's more powerful, it's more wind sculpted, and it's quicker. So all there is to learn about the F8 Tributo Spider today, its design, its interior, its performance, and its comfort. And I'm going to have a special guest, so stay tuned for that. And there it is, the F8 Tributo Spider. One of three in the country, and they're all spec'd the same way. This one is painted Giallo Modena, probably pronounced that wrong, but you can see it's a sort of pale yellow, and the interior is called Blue Sterling. I'll get to that in a moment because it's fantastic. Before doing the exterior and interior walk around, a few announcements. One, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. You will get access to a daily upload, a POV drive, a walk around, a live Q&A, or one of these reviews. You'll get notifications for those if you hit the bell. So do that and get yourself some awesome car content. And then, if you want to support the channel, a few different ways you can do that. You can become a patron. I have a Patreon account. Different tiers get you different perks. It's a way of supporting the channel with, however you want to contribute. If it's $1 a month, it's $1 a month. But it's giving me the thumbs up saying you like this content, you want to see more of it. And I would be such a fan if you did that. And last but not least, I already referred to them, but the POV drive, the walk around, POV day drive and night drive are posted now or will be posted very shortly. So you'll get to experience this car without me talking at you. And that's it for the announcements. But before diving in deeper, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a story about why I love cars, why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, how it all started. When I was a kid, growing up in the 90s, my best friend across the street, his dad had become a car collector, and while the automotive enthusiast gene was not present in my own family, my dad did end up with a couple Corvettes, but I spent every afternoon over at my friend's place poring over the various cars that he had, and two of the most special cars there was a Testarossa, not the 512 TR, but the Testarossa that preceded that, in red, of course, on tan leather. And then he had a 328 GTS that was rather special. It was painted a sky blue color with navy interior. I think that started my obsession with navy interior, as you will see. And those two cars sold me on the passion of design and engineering. And we'd just spend all our time reading up in Car and Driver and Motor Trend and just getting our fix while also, cleaning the cars and getting to know them and learning from his dad. So that's what started me in this automotive passion that I have now. And so it's kind of a very special moment for me to get behind the wheel of a Ferrari. It's my second one that I've reviewed. And to really meet my heroes. This now being, I wasn't allowed to drive the cars at the time, but now I'm allowed to drive it. This is just amazing. So if you listen to all that, now you know this is why I love cars, and so this is a really important, significant moment for me. So let's talk about the exterior design of the F8 Tributo Spider. So this car is succeeding the 488 GTB Spider, and it does so with resculpted bodywork, an updated engine, updated suspension, and powertrain delivery. Sorry, that's the engine part. Updated driving dynamics is what I meant to say. But first and foremost, the things you're going to be able to see on the road that will tell you this is the new Tributo and not the 488 can be found up here at the front. We have this new S duct, so lots of aerodynamic stuff going on here, and I'll do my best to point it all out, but if I gloss over some, forgive me. One of the big elements here, though, is this S duct. So air comes in through here and shoots up over this giant duct on the hood, and that provides a ton of downforce, helping the car feel planted at speed. Then we have a new position of the intercoolers rather. They're now below and just off to the side of the headlights at the front of the car. And these headlights themselves are a new design. You've got LED headlights as standard with these LED daytime running lights. Airflow coming in through this duct just above the headlights, managing the air, the path of it. Then some coming in off to the right. That's going to cool the brakes and tires and send air coming around the wind tunnel sketch is actually pretty cool, just watching the air manipulate itself around the car. Larger air intakes down here at the front, the nose. And if you come to the side, you can really see how significant the depth difference is between this part right here and the pinnacle of the nose. It's pretty rad. So that's the front stuff. Come to the side, and this particular model is equipped with glossy silver forged 20-inch wheels. 20-inch wheels are standard on this car, but they don't always have this design and this finish. I think it looks fantastic. They are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Supersport tires, which is kind of surprising to me. Typically they equip these with Pirelli's, Italian company, representing Italian company, Michelin being a French company. I don't know, maybe they're crossing borders, shaking hands here. But they are 245 section front, 305 section rear, so a staggered stance, plenty of grip, and it is a rear biased car, rear wheel drive, but also rear weight bias. So that's why it's so important to have that extra downforce in the front and have the extra grip in the rear. And this one is equipped with carbon ceramic brakes. They're not standard on the car, but the blue brake calipers are one of the options. There are so many options on this car, I'll just say it right now, that it's going to be impossible for me to remember all of them. But just know there's about $90,000 in options, and I will do my best to point them out. My editor will throw in the prices when they're available. One of the options is the Scuderia badge. And then we come to the side, we can see the airflow coming in through this duct here. It's providing cooling to the engine. And we've got an insert in between that's directing the air. Pretty deep duct. This isn't Lamborghini Aventador ducting, but it's pretty deep. I also love that the door handle itself is sculpted for aerodynamic efficiency. Some automakers are choosing to do away with the door handle. Ferrari decided to leave the door handle, but they gave it its own design. Pretty neat. And then as we make our way to the back, see a couple things. So we can peer into the cabin from here, see the large buttresses over the driver and passenger, just off to the driver and passenger's left and right. And then this windstop can raise and lower. And then as we work our way down, we see this design piece, this part being body color matching, these being painted black, that you can also get in carbon fiber if you want. And that really harkens to when the Spiders were first coming out from Ferrari in the 70s, late 70s. 308 GTS was the first. And they had this design to the engine cover, and the engine does reside beneath that. You see the Ferrari there. But I love that they've continued that design language with the new F8 Tributo Spider. More ducting here, pulling air in, and then this spoiler is now wider and at a more significant angle than the 488. It does not move, so it's not an active spoiler, but they found a way to give active aerodynamics through the diffuser that I'll get to in a second. And these rivets here, the 1, 2, 3, beneath the spoiler, reduce drag. So you'll still be able to hit crazy speeds while having the function of downforce from that spoiler. Now we arrive at the taillights, and the rear is really where we're going to see the differences between the 488 and this F8 Tributo Spider. Well, for one, it has quad taillights now, which I think look awesome. So instead of the single taillight at the very corner of the car that was brought on from the 458 Italia, it now has the quad taillights with LEDs in them. Not showing it right now because the lights aren't on for the car, but they look really exceptional. I'll show you a B-roll shot of that. And then we have heat extraction here just below the taillights. Breaks up this back body work. From the side you can really see how it kind of juts out and down. And then here's that diffuser, and it has active aerodynamics such that when you are cornering, different panels are working, and when you are going for a straight line speed, those panels work in a different way. You also have a flat floor to this car with ducts for brake cooling, and a flat floor gives you the slipperiness to the airflow, so it's not increasing drag in any way. There's not having air trapped in certain pockets of the floor that would otherwise drag down the car. So that is all pretty neat. And these, neat, I said meat. That's pretty neat. I like that, it's meat. These exhausts, another option on the car, are titanium. They look fantastic and help give the twin turbo V8 a bit more acoustic. And that pretty much sums up the exterior. Now this is all with the top down. I'll give you, actually I may hop in the car right now, raise the lid and show you what that looks like on the outside, because one of the coolest things about this car is because of the folding hardtop roof, it really does look like the coupe version of the F8 Tributo when the top is up. Yes, if you look closely you can see the panel lines, but it gives you the functionality of both vehicles in one. And that makes sense then why Ferrari says their customers aren't typically buying both the F8 Coupe and the F8 Spider. I would just get this one and have the functionality of both. This is only marginally heavier than the coupe version. But as we can see, it's a very, very beautiful car. And let's hop in, raise the lid, which takes 14 seconds and can be done at speeds up to 30 miles per hour. So we got a fire on the car. Oh, that's nice. And then we press this button here, push it down, pop this out so we can see all this action. Did you start your stopwatch? You counting 14 seconds? Windows raise, and the beep tells us we are done. So that's with the top up. Let's go see how it looks on the outside. Pretty sleek, right? So effectively, the giveaway that it's not the coupe are these lines and the kind of the angle to the way that this the top is integrated with this buttress. That's the giveaway. But apart from that, it's very clean, and you don't have the dead call out that a convertible top has. Especially from the side, it looks like it's just a coupe. Man, that's a handsome vehicle. Am I right? Or do we think that the aero sculpting has made it busy, has made the design too busy? I don't think that. I think it's a very beautiful car. This or the Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, you tell me which you think is better looking. All right, now let's hop in, get ourselves comfortable, and review this interior. We can start with the lid up so that we can look at some of the things that would otherwise be marred by sunlight. And I'll turn off the car for now and just put it in accessory mode. Some cool graphics on the digital displays to the left and right of the yellow Speedo. The yellow is an option, but not a paid option. You can just choose to have it yellow or red or whatever color is your favorite. I find it to be a gorgeous speedometer, especially with these carbon fiber pieces around it. And so here's where we're getting into a lot of the options in this interior. The carbon fiber pieces that you're seeing on most of the places in this interior are optional, as is the leather. So like the top part of the dashboard in leather, that's an option. And this carbon fiber piece on the center, this in carbon fiber, that's an option. So a lot of that is optional, but it looks fantastic, doesn't it? I love the driver focus of this cockpit. You've got these turbine kind of things pointing at you. They look like weapons. Are they gonna hurt me? It's a little cheapy feeling of that, but not too bad. Let's get into these digital displays here. So I've shared my love for the tachometer front and center. It's your gear off to the right, bottom right, and then you can see whether it's in auto mode, and if that auto goes away, then you are in manual mode. But this display to the left can be controlled by these settings over here, and that mostly deals with, well, right now the door is open, so close that. Nice solid sound to the door closing, not tinny at all. That display is largely dealing with your telemetry data. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. Focus. It is listed in kilometers per hour. I could not, for the life of me, find a way to switch it to miles per hour. This screen over here is in miles per hour. This one, I went through all the settings and I could not figure out how to switch it to kilometers per hour. But maybe it gives me the feel that I really am in the Italian imported car, and there are only 3 of these in the US and they are all Euro spec. So maybe that's what they're doing here. But anyway, so you've got your Speedo. You have, it was slow to move, your tire pressure, your oil temp, and your battery level. And, or rather, sorry, that was your oil level. And now we've got your oil temp. So that's all that information there. And your cruise control, or whatever you've got for the selection over here, that's going to be displayed over there. So right now we are in Sport on the Manatino, and so therefore it's showing Sport. If we went to Race, it would show Race, and then all the other ones there. I'll get to that in a sec. Then off to the right, we've got this screen that mirrors that one, same size and configuration on the other side of the tack, and it deals with largely your infotainment, CarPlay, those kind of goodies. I'll show a clip of CarPlay on this display. It does take up the whole display, which is nice, but it's not a very huge display, so you will have to look a little more intently than if it was like a 10-inch infotainment. So we can switch through these with these selections just to the right of the steering wheel. You've got your volume knob here. Whoa, okay, so that's the JBL sound system, just for fun. It's like a $6,000 option, and it was worth it. It was loud. Home button takes you to this screen. Then you can switch your way through settings, phone, navigation, media. Let's see what the nav screen looks like. You can input a destination, press up on the clicker thing, and it gives you a different drop-down menu. Press down, takes it away. Back to get where we were. Media, radio, speedometer. So you can have your speedometer on the right or on the left, and if you go to speedometer on this side, it will automatically switch this to a different display. And yeah, CarPlay is going to be in the phone setting, and that will only show up if you have CarPlay connected, which you connect right here. So there's one with the CarPlay visual or graphic over it, and another USB port without that. So that's just going to charge your device. And I'm heating up, but look at this steering wheel. Let's just spend a second fawning over this wheel. Is this not, it's just, oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't speak anymore. It's robbing me of words. This steering wheel is one of the most beautiful pieces in a modern sports car. The flat bottom and slightly flattened top, the LED lights. I'm going to spend a few times in this review, I'm sure. I'm going to gush over this wheel. But the LED indicator lights for when you need to change gear are up there. Your turn signals are at each end. So you got one left, one right. Down here are your windshield. So everything you're going to need as a driver, like absolutely need, is going to be on the wheel. So your windshield wipers, your speed is right here. Turning on the spray, the Mantino, my goodness. I'm thinking Montecito. I don't know why. Went there recently, I suppose. The Mantino, which is Ferrari terminology for your gear selector. Wet, sport, race. Traction control is CT. It's funny. CT, control traction control. And your electronic stability control. So if you press that, that'll turn it off. If you hold this off to the right, it will take off traction control. Stability control, my mistake. But we're going to leave those on because it's a nearly $400,000 Ferrari as tested, and we don't want to mess with that. The carbon fiber on the wheel is beautiful. This is your engine start-stop, which I'm cooking right now, so I think I'm actually going to turn this on. Also, makes a nice noise. This is how you decouple the suspension. You can only do that in sport mode. These are your lights, low and high beams. Then you have your shift paddles for the 7-speed dual clutch automatic. Nice big shift paddles. Having trouble today. Left down, just in case you didn't know that, and right up. And they are mounted to the steering column, not the wheel, but they're so large that you're always going to have a place where you can pull the paddle while you're turning. And just a nice, satisfying pull, like really a good amount of movement from that paddle, and just a satisfying click every time you downshift or upshift. You got this yellow stitching to match the exterior of the car around the wheel. Looking really good. Your light adjustments are over here. Your parking brake is down there, and you have an auto park, basically an auto hold function. I use that pretty liberally. And you have the start-stop system, which I cannot for the life of me find a way to turn off. Two things I cannot find in this cabin, which everyone's going to laugh at me, and someone will point out how oblivious I am. Cannot find the lock and unlock for the interior. I've had to reach over every time to pull the door when I have a passenger, and I cannot find the auto start-stop button. Maybe it's a setting in the infotainment. I've been too lazy and I haven't hunted around in there beyond trying to switch from kilometers per hour to miles per hour, but I can't find it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Parking brake, lights. This is how you open the door. You pull up on this paddle here. The window will crack a bit, and that's how you open it on up. You can see the carbon fiber on the door panel, an option. Of course, this is how your mirrors are adjusted, and you can fold them by pulling in all the way to this section, but that's how you adjust left and right. Down here, we find the release for your front trunk. I will show you in a sec, and for your gas cap. Very thin storage tray in there, and just the beautiful leather work all along this door panel, just gorgeous. And navy. Let's spend a second talking about how nicely navy it is. I love navy interiors. I have since I told you my friend's 328 GTS Ferrari with that navy interior. This is just, it's throwing me back, and I love it. It's so beautiful. I'll put the top down and we'll get a few other pans to look at this interior, but it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous shade, and contrasting the yellow very nicely. I personally think that if this car was silver, which I'm not usually a silver fan, but silver on navy is such a nice combo, I could get down with that. So that's the door panel, and we know it makes a, oh, that was a terrible close to the door, Miles. Try again. Nice solid noise when it closes. And here's another important distinction for the Ferrari F8 Tributo Spider. Visibility and headroom. So unlike the Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, where I could barely see out of this front windshield, it was like a tiny letterbox, and it felt like I was wearing a baseball cap, I can see really easily out of the front glass with the top up, and that same blind spot is the same as it was before. And then headroom is fine. I mean, my head's close to the roof. This is me sitting all the way up straight. It's probably more my comfortable riding position. But I have room. This is good and important if you're going to drive this car often. So we are moving on to the right-hand side. I showed you these controls here. Down below here, you have your parking sensors. That's an option for the car, $1,500 or so. You can switch on just your video camera, will show up there. Then we have your dual zone climate control, just a nice LCD screen amidst this carbon fiber coming across the side. More of your climate control settings over here. No seat heating. Maybe you have that available on the non-racing seat options, but these are the racing seat options. $9,000 for these seats, and they're fantastic. I love this design. I love this centerpiece moving its way on up the stock and seemingly floating. If you go down here, you can see the support, but seemingly floating from this angle. It's beautiful. You can also catch the little cubby they make for the Ferrari key. Let's check out this key. Beautiful Rosso red, and a matte gray to the backing of this upper part, and a matte silver finish down below that. So you've got your front hood release, front trunk, lock and unlock, and turn on and off the lights. Interesting. But it's got nice weight to it. It's just a beautiful item. It takes great photos, let me tell you. You can see more of this Giallo Modena yellow along the stitching along the center, along with the navy leather. Here is where you have the window controls for the passenger and the driver. Launch control. The way you engage launch is you have to be in race mode, so you switch over to Manettino. Then foot hard on the brake. Take off auto mode, so now you're in manual shifting mode. And then you press launch. And when you do that, a series of things will show up. I'll give you some B-roll of that. And then you hold your foot left on the brake, build up the revs to about 3,000 RPM, 3,500, and then release the brake and you're gone. 2.9 seconds to 60. It's crazy. And reverse gear is there. Itty-bitty cup holders. And speaking of, I mean, you caught the glimpse of it. It's the large water bottle, which brings us to the large water bottle test. Is it going to fit in this Ferrari F8 Tributo Spider? It's definitely not going to fit in that cup holder. I mean, you could do this for half a second, and then you take a corner, and that's going to go flying. Door pockets? Not a chance. It's going to sit there, which I suppose is an access point. This centerpiece here, however, fits it like a glove. Look at that. That's so tidy. That's really nice. I suppose if you have a charging cable coming out of there, you're not going to be able to slide that in there. But if you don't, your large bottle will fit so nicely there. And then last but not least, we have this netted portion behind the passenger and driver's seat. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Oh, come on. I did it. Did it one-handed. And that's just going to stow and hold itself right there. So while not being the most accessible in the world, it is a place you could store your large water bottle, and that passes the test, ladies and gentlemen. The Ferrari F8 Tributo Spider, I've been shocked at the kind of cars that pass this test and the kind of cars that don't, but this one passes the test with 2 options. Amazing. All right, so let's check out this digital display over here. This is an option on this car. I don't know the price off the top of my head. It will be listed for you, and a few different things you can look at. You can look at the performance of the car. You can see the tach up above, the gear, and your speed in miles per hour. So frustrating that it's miles per hour and not kilometers like the other one. Turn the display off. You've got media. You have navigation, which is weird to see on a horizontal plane like this. Your performance that I showed you, and the VDA, the Manettino, my goodness. And which position you're in, which selection you're on, so we're on race, and then you've got music settings. So that's all in this display. Find it to be pretty sweet. Then we see the F8 Spider badging up above in this navy leather. And now let's pop out for a sec and get a better look at these seats. Actually, let's pull up. Sorry, down here. So we're going to pull. Sorry, don't push, you pull. Love the Ferrari spelled out just there. And then we're going to watch the top disappear. The sun's going to blind me just a little. Windows coming up. And great. Now I'm going to pop out. And we can get a view of these seats. Gorgeous, gorgeous seats. These are optional racing bucket seats. And every bit of what I just said, racing bucket, makes it sound like they are not going to be comfortable at all. That's totally false. These are ridiculously comfortable seats. Maybe because they hug your body so nicely. And even though it's $9,000, it doesn't come as standard with adjustability for height. So you can add on for $2,000-ish this lever here that will raise or lower the seat to find you a good driving position. What does come with the seat as standard is this bar down here that will slide it forward or backward. And then so much adjustability on the steering wheel itself via this, let's find the tab. There we go. This tab down here. There we go. Tilt and telescope to your heart's desire. I had it telescoped all the way out. And pull the lever and rub. But yeah, back to the seats. Not only are they comfortable, but they don't look like racing bucket seats. They look like fine leather luxury seats. You've got embossed prancing horse in the seat itself. That's an option. This yellow to match the exterior of the car, running as a stripe right down the center of the seat. Navy leather, yellow stitching, this porous microfiber suede insert, and then the leather borders. And they hug you so snugly. You can't be really oversized and fit comfortably in these seats, but they're made for the Italian gentleman or gentle lady. So yeah, the seats themselves are incredibly comfortable. The interior is dazzling. A couple other things to point out real quick. Engine cover, to look at it, you pull up on that tab, come around to the back, and no latches or anything, you just lift up. And this is how much of the engine you can see. You can see the intakes, the two big intakes. You can see F8 Spider badging, a Ferrari cap, likely for your oil. And then down in there, you can see the red over the manifold and the mesh above that. So you can't see the heart, you can't see the red powder coated pieces very clearly, but you can if you look inside. But it shows you more of the engine than some supercars do, that's for sure. And it does get warm. And then got to show you the front trunk, which to open you press this button here. Hold it for half a sec, it pops open. And here you're gonna find 7 cubic feet of space, lever, which doesn't sound like much at all, but you can actually fit a fair amount of cargo in there because it's deep. It's pretty darn deep. I fit bags for my wife and I and my camera gear in here without problems. And a crate of mangoes that we picked up on the way. So yeah, you can store stuff in here. And fun fact, all of your options are listed here in Italian. Oh, Italian and English. And all of your identification information for the car is there. That's pretty cool. So that is the front trunk. I'm trying to do this not to hurt it. Press that, and then you seal it. So that's the interior and exterior of the Ferrari F8 Tributo Spider. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous all around. Visibility, I did not mention that. Let me just sit in the seat for a second, I'll show you. But it's pretty darn good for a vehicle in this segment. You kind of have to flop yourself on the seat if you're getting quickly. But as you can see, no real issues. We do have blind spots starting here. The rearview mirror is good sized. And then back here, we can see a fair bit through this centerpiece between the headrests of the seats. So not that big of a blind spot. You are sitting pretty low, so if you want to see over that, for example, you're gonna have to really hike yourself up over and hope maybe you'll have a camera in your hand and you can just go, oh, there's no one there, we're fine. Because there are not many active safety features to speak of on this car. No adaptive cruise, no lane keeping assist, no auto emergency braking. You do have parking sensors, so you don't scrape your expensive panels. And that's about it. So there we are. I think it's time to rev up this bad boy and drive it. All right, behind the wheel of the Ferrari F8 Tributo with my special guest, my lovely wife, Christina. She's gonna offer her opinion on some things as we get going with this review. Here in Malibu, California, beautiful. We were driving around all day yesterday. It was sunny. Today's a little overcast. It will sunny up later, but probably not while we're driving still. But along PCH, we are experiencing a 3.9 liter twin turbo V8 making 710 horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque, up 50 horsepower from this car's predecessor, the 488 Spider, and down 44 pounds overall at just over 3,000 pounds total compared to that 488 Spider, which means it's only 44 pounds heavier than the 488 Pista Spider, a much more hardcore vehicle. 0 to 60, as a result, is 2.9 seconds, almost said 3, 2.9 seconds, and a top speed of 211 miles an hour. Just bonkers. That engine is paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox and rear-wheel drive only. It's a great transmission. I mean, instant shifts. And how cool are these LEDs on the steering wheel? You really feel like you're in a race car when the shift lights are just going and they get to the red mark, or blue in this case, you shift, you feel like a boss. But this car is more than just being fast and really good in a corner, as I experienced yesterday on some canyon roads. It is comfortable. Ferrari says the average owner of their Spider cars is pretty much always having a passenger. So I definitely wanted to include my number one passenger, Christina. And maybe you can start with a conversation about how comfortable this car is as we cruise along PCH.
Absolutely. Well, I love the leg room. I feel like in other sports cars, I feel a little cramped. It's a little too tight on the seats. So the seats, there's a little give.
And I should mention, these are like $9,000 racing seats.
Wow.
So, or the racing inspired seats. So they should be not as comfortable as they are, but they really are comfortable.
Yeah, very cushy. What else? I have enough headroom.
Especially with the roof off.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when the top's on.
Yeah, when the top's on, you're right. There's
so
very good headroom.
Plus.
Yeah.
Very smooth. You can't really feel bumps.
I'm going over some right now.
And I love that. So we can take this on a longer trip.
Yeah.
In other sports cars, you're done.
You can't wait to get out of it.
No, yeah. So I would say it's pretty amazing, the comfort.
Yeah. What do you think of this navy blue interior? Is it doing it for you?
I love the navy blue and the yellow.
Yeah.
I would never choose that combination, but on this car,
it just works.
I really love it.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you. And what about like the wind noise? Like I'm in km per hour, so I can't make the active conversion in my head. I would gauge that we're doing about 50, 55 miles an hour right now along PCH, and the wind is really not bad. I'm speaking up because the top is down and I'm speaking to a microphone, but we could have a casual conversation like this, and you could hear me very easily. So I imagine
the entire drive here, we can hear each other.
That's true, yeah.
Whereas in other sports cars, you're shouting at each other. We're not talking at all.
Yeah.
So we actually enjoyed our
We're
time.
always talking to each other. But yeah, I agree with you, and I think the JBL sound system puts out great audio. We were listening to that on the drive for a bit, and I was just very impressed. But it really is, it borders on Grand Touring here. Yes, it's not like the cushy comforts of a GT car, but you really could take this on a longer trip and be comfortable the whole way, and then literally smoke just about everything under the sun from a light, because this launch control system is bonkers. It's so good, and it took me a little while to get it dialed in to make sure that I was launching at just the right RPM, which ends up being around like 3,500 RPM. But it's so ridiculously fast, and the transmission is so quick. This is, I mean, apart from Porsche's PDK system, which is my penultimate, this is right there with the PDK as just quick and smooth and precise shifting. And that's with it in auto mode. My one little critique with the transmission, and this is not something you're going to feel, except that you'll feel it shifting up really quickly, is just that it quickens getting to a higher gear, a more fuel-efficient gear. Maybe that's lending itself to being more of a GT setup, but it rushes itself to the 7-speed so that you don't really have access to all of the performance down low all the time. And that's even in race mode. When I go to race mode, it still wants to get to that 7th gear faster than I would like, so that I end up putting it in manual mode more often so that I can really tap into the performance all the time. But that's my only little critique with the transmission. And the only other critique I really have, because, I mean, stupid fast in a straight line, and Ferrari's coupling of systems, I cannot remember the names off the top of my head. It's like Ferrari Dynamics and a side slip control. Yeah, those are two of them. And it's like microprocessors that help the car just handle perfectly in a corner. It reminds me, I don't know if you ever played, did you play Tony Hawk when you were a kid? Tony Hawk Pro Skater? Oh, you didn't?
You know I didn't play video games.
You didn't play video games. That's a bummer. It's okay. It reminds me of Tony Hawk Pro Skater and maybe Sonic the Hedgehog, where you would
play Sonic.
You played Sonic? All right, cool. Then you'll get this. It's like double jumping, which is physically impossible, but you would get to a certain point in the air and then you would jump again.
Okay.
This car is turning twice. So it's like you're in a corner, and typically, if you go to racing school, as I've done, they say, don't increase steering angle in a corner, don't turn twice effectively in a corner, just embrace the angle that you're in and ease up on the turn. You're decreasing the steering radius as you're inputting throttle. This car, it defies physics because it lets you turn in twice effectively, pivot and turn again, and it's just physically impossible, but this car is doing it anyway. So that is what Ferrari engineers have, like, sorcery wisdom with the engineering. That's what they've done with this car, so that it handles incredibly well. Granted, I'm not on a canyon road right now, but like, hopefully my editor JD is throwing in a bunch of B-roll, both POV drive and from when I was just going through the canyons yesterday in Malibu, because it's just astonishing what this car does in the corner. But to get back to kind of like the daily usability of this car, because a Spider, a convertible, a roadster, whatever you want to call it, is more something that is accessible on a daily basis. That's kind of the positioning of this car. But with the folding hardtop, it can turn aggressive, and even with the top down, it can be aggressive, yet it's accessible all the time. And that's kind of what the Spider formula is for Ferrari ever since, 1977 with the 308 GTS. It's been top down, fun, and accessible. And that's how I feel like this F8 Tributo Spider is. It's faster than ever, it's sharper than ever, and yet it's still as comfortable as I would want a sports car in this segment to be. Do you have other thoughts for us, Christina? What would you like to see more out of this car, or what do you think that they've just nailed compared to some of the other cars you've been in? You've been in the Lamborghini Huracan, you've been in the 720S Spider. Right. What is it missing, or what does it have better than those cars?
Well, we talked about what's better.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely the drive.
Yeah.
The
smoothness of the drive.
Yeah. Yes. I would say the interior. I mean, some things feel kind of cheap to me.
Like what?
Like
these like tunnel or like almost like turbine firing air vent looking things. Yeah, they do feel a little bit cheap.
Yeah, I would like a little bit of a step up in that area for what you're paying for.
But the leather and stitching and carbon fiber everywhere else, that's pretty high end.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say they've nailed it pretty much.
I agree. What about the engine note? So I'm going to click it down, but go into race mode. How do we feel about this exhaust note?
I like it. It's not as poppy as other sports cars.
Yeah. Would you be about?
But
does it feel as guttural, like deep as?
It still does.
It still does. Yeah. Okay.
Me.
I'm feeling like it's hard because when you have an ace in the hole, like the Lamborghini Huracan's NAV10, that just sounds like firecrackers. It's hard to compare a twin-turbo V8 to this. Both in the McLaren and in this, it's just not going to give you that oral excitement.
I guess it depends on your personality.
Yeah, your personality. What do you want out of an exhaust note?
Yes.
There you go. That's fair. Just to give the viewers some perspective, that is more exhilarating, the NAV10, while this is more, it's like consuming, it feels like induction, and you're in a tunnel, and very futuristic, not as just loud, you know? So that's one thing where if you're an exhaust lover, you're going to have to like the sound of a twin-turbo V8 compared to an NAV10 to want this particular exhaust note. But then again, like, that's like one aspect of the car. We interrupt this message to bring you launch control. I mean, it's so not dramatic in how it gets you there, but man, does it get you there. That was wild. Absolutely wild. Okay, now, we were getting into competitors a second ago, and so to get into launch control, by the way, you had to go into race mode, and then you had to go into manual mode. So I'm taking it out of manual mode, back into auto, and putting it back in sports. Competitors, we've already touched on them a little bit. I'll give you the Spider specs one more time to give us reference points. This F8 Tributo Spider is $302,000 to start. As tested, $396,000, so almost $400,000, which represents, okay, so it's 96, $94,000 in options. That's a really nice car in options right there. But $302,000 to start, 0 to 60, 2.9 seconds, top speed 211 miles an hour, really impressive stuff, and the horsepower is 710. The Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, $233,000, 631 horsepower, so much less starting price, but much less power. 0 to 60, 3.1 seconds, so 0.2 of a second off of this. Top speed only 202 miles an hour. Really shameful. Then we've got the McLaren 720S Spider. That starts at a higher price, $317,000. It does make the same power, 710 horsepower, and gets to 60 in 1/10 of a second faster, 2.8 seconds. Seriously, blisteringly fast car, but not as, I don't know, exciting as this or the Huracan in my opinion. And other sources have seen that car go even faster to 60, which is shocking. And I mean, among those, I'm going to say the most, it's between, it really depends on your styling preference. In terms of exterior styling, I'm going to say, gosh, I don't know, the Huracan Evo Spider is really a good looking car, but this is right up there. It really depends on your preference. Interior, I'm going to give this one to the Ferrari. I think there's more going on. This steering wheel is the most gorgeous thing on the market. It's such a beautiful blend of carbon fiber. It's the right size. They actually decreased the size compared to the 488 to make it more engaging. And the shift lights on the wheel and just everything driver focused in this car. This interior and the comfort, I'm going to give it to this car compared to the 720, which is also comfortable but not as exciting on the inside. Not even close. And the Huracan. Exterior, as I said, is your preference. Performance, I think that the 720 is too distilled. It's just mechanical in the way it's so quick, but it's not as exciting as this. The Lamborghini Huracan, I would say more exhilarating, so that's probably my penultimate in terms of just driver engagement. But which would I want to take on a road trip? It's got to be this. This is the one I would want to drive more often. The Huracan Evo Spider I would kind of take out for special occasions. This I'd want to drive way more frequently. It's just that good. I got passed by a Sentra. I can't let that happen. Sorry. Okay, I feel better now. This car, it's holding up to my standards. What I wanted as an enthusiast, as a young enthusiast, out of a Ferrari. It's exciting. It's beautiful. It's stupid fast. I mean, my little kid dreams come true in this car. And
sorry, we can't make your adult dreams.
I know,
come true.
Christina, we can't make my adult dreams come true. Maybe one day, but until then, I have the greatest job on the planet. I'm the greatest wife on the planet, and we get to do these fun things together. Thank you for joining us for this review of the F8 Tributo Spider. You want this car. I can tell you right now, you want this car. And we'll end that with a bit of acceleration. Oh, gosh.